horrific monsters, treacherous conditions, and whatever the heck this is, there are plenty of reasons to fear the ocean. If you're afraid of the sea, do not watch this video. In May 2023, Hawaiian angler Scott Haraguchi was fishing from his kayak in the shallow waters off the coast of Kualoa, Hawaii. But little did he realize that his biggest catch of the day was really trying to catch him. Brace yourself for this one, folks.
Oh! Tiger shark! Tiger shark ran me.
Out of nowhere, a tiger shark estimated to be 20 feet in length suddenly rammed into the side of Haraguchi's kayak, locking its jaws onto the side of the boat. Miraculously unharmed, Haraguchi shoved the beast's snout with his foot, thankfully sending it swimming away. The shark likely mistook the kayak for potential prey, especially since a wounded seal was sighted in the same area just half an hour after the close encounter. That said, tiger sharks are among the most notorious species for launching unprovoked attacks on people, second only to the great white shark in number of documented attacks. While great whites tend to opt for the hit-and-run approach, tiger sharks have an almost completely undiscerning palate, meaning they're less likely to swim away after nibbling a human and realizing it isn't a seal. All I know is you'll never catch me floating in the open sea in some flimsy little kayak as potential shark bait to test that theory. That's for sure. Picture this, a creature that lives in eternal darkness hidden beneath the ocean floor. It's 10 feet long, sleek and writhing, with jaws powerful enough to snap fish in half. No, it's not your high school math teacher. It's the bobbit worm, a type of bristleworm that can be found in the Atlantic and Indo-Pacific oceans. Looking like a giant diabolical hybrid of a worm and millipede, this ambush predator lurks unseen in its seafloor burrow, using twitching antennae to sense for vibrations in the water. Then, when prey ventures close, it strikes. That cuttlefish was very lucky to escape right there. Like a ferocious extendable bear trap, the bobbit worm explodes from its hideout, mandibles agape, and drags its helpless meals to their sandy grave. Nope, definitely nope. That thing got dragged face first into the ground. What a terrible day to have eyes. But that's just how life is when there are bobbit worms in your neighborhood. Unwary small fish, crustaceans, octopi, and even other worms are the most common victims of these silent assassins. But don't imagine that you'd ever be safe from its wrath. The whole length of the worm's body is covered in venomous bristles that can inflict intense burning pain and even permanent numbness to human limbs. So be careful if you ever step foot on the sea floor. Even my sleep paralysis demons might take a backseat to this abhorrent abomination. Dotted throughout the farthest reaches of outer space, black holes are some of the most awe-inspiring and terrifying structures ever discovered. But turns out you can find giant circular abysses right here within our very own planet's oceans. And they're just as terrifying. Located near Lighthouse Reef in the Caribbean Sea lies a giant marine sinkhole known as the Great Blue Hole. Formed during the last ice age when rising sea levels collapsed the ceiling of a cave system that used to be there, this unnerving oceanic pit is an enormous 1,000 feet wide and over 410 feet deep. While its vast dark emptiness is intimidating enough on its own, most disturbing of all is what lies at the bottom of this murky chasm. In 2018, a crew from Aquatic Submarines headed up by none other than Richard Branson set to venture to the bottom of the Great Blue Hole in an attempt to make a 3D map of its interior. As they started their descent, the crew first encountered the likes of reef sharks, turtles, and giant corals, which are all common in the area. But as they reached depths of around 300 feet, signs of life started to disappear. The culprit studies conducted there found out was a thick layer of toxic hydrogen sulfide at that depth, preventing oxygen reaching deeper. At the bottom of the hole, the crew began to spot hundreds of dead crabs, conches, and other creatures that had fallen into the hole, run out of oxygen, and suffocated. The crew also found plastic bags, bottles, and even a lost GoPro loaded with someone's vacation snaps. But the graveyard of lost items and crustaceans wasn't the most chilling discovery to come. The crew also found the bodies of 2 divers known to have gone missing while exploring the hole. While the identity of the divers and details on exactly how they met their demise is still unclear, they may have fallen victim to a sinister phenomenon known as nitrogen narcosis. This chilling condition can strike divers at great depths where the immense water pressure causes the nitrogen from their breathing gas to dissolve into the nervous system, affecting the functioning of the brain. The result is similar to that of drunkenness, inducing a dangerous cocktail of impaired judgment, lack of coordination, and a euphoric haze that can drive even the most experienced divers into making fatally poor choices. It's easy to imagine how someone experiencing this in the otherworldly atmosphere of the blue hole might get hopelessly lost and run out of air. It's unknown how many people have perished while trying to explore the Great Blue Hole, but let's hope that anyone considering it thinks again. It's easy to forget that playing with water can be just as dangerous as playing with fire.
Whoa, what's this? It's only our brand new fun and frantic trivia card game we've been developing for years. We've packed it full of all our most interesting facts, and whenever another player thinks you're wrong, they can cut you off with a catastrophic nuh-uh. Steal your opponent's cards and risk your own and nuh-uh. And if trivia isn't your strong suit, don't worry. All the questions in nuh-uh are multiple choice, meaning eggheads and non-eggheads alike stand a chance. Crazy game-altering powers like switcheroo, flip-flop, and piggyback add extra layers of strategy, deception, and chaos to the experience. We've toiled playtesting and tweaking nuh-uh for countless hours, and each and every game was its own fun, wacky adventure.
Oh, and we've designed and printed it to perfection.
Look, that's me on the box over there. So, what are you waiting for?
Nuh-uh is the perfect stocking stuffer this Christmas. Beat the hordes and click the link in the description or on screen now to order your copy today.
And for a limited time, you can get the base game and the Science and Nature expansion pack, adding over 200 more questions for only $25. That's a whopping 25% discount for our quickest, most loyal fans only. Click the link in the description or on screen now to order your copy today. Our stock is limited, so order now while supplies last. Okay, now let's get back to your regularly scheduled programming.
In Greek mythology, numerous ships succumbed to the great sea monster Charybdis, said to create enormous whirlpools of death leading down into its gaping jaws. But before you dismiss such tales as mere legend, there's something you should see. Alright, who decided it was a good idea to pull the plug on the ocean? This dramatic footage was actually captured in 2021 by fearless TikTok user Olivia Farr while enjoying a jet boat tour off the northeastern edge of Sonora Island, British Columbia. The region sees frequent and fierce tidal whirlpools thanks to the powerful cross-flowing torrents of water that stream through the numerous winding channels there, churning each other up into a spinning pit. This particular whirlpool appears regularly enough that locals have aptly dubbed it the Devil's Hole, perhaps because the spiraling, sloshing white water seems to funnel right down into the depths of hell. The biggest and most dangerous whirlpools on Earth are called maelstroms, which can be deadly if you get too close. If you get sucked into a maelstrom, particularly one formed by harsh currents sloshing across uneven seabeds out in the ocean, you can be pulled underwater and trapped. This can be extremely dangerous as the force of the whirlpool can easily make it impossible to swim to the surface, with the swirling water making it hard to know which way is up. While jet boats manned by experienced drivers are able to escape the mighty pool of whirlpools like the Devil's Hole, I hate to imagine how a kayak would fare against this frighteningly voracious vortex. Did you know that sunlight can only penetrate the top 9% of the ocean's maximum depth? And that's being generous. In fact, in most cases, visible light us humans can detect rarely reaches much deeper than 700 feet, which is a mere 2% of the ocean's max depth. That means almost all of what we know as the deep blue is permanently engulfed in blinding black darkness. You're welcome. But perhaps that isn't such a bad thing, because some of the monstrosities that live deep down in the abyss might make you wish you were blind. Exhibit A. the deep-sea hatchetfish. Found in temperate regions around the world at depths as low as 3,000 feet, this shuddersome sea dweller is nightmare fuel come to life. Seriously, this thing looks like a terrible accident at the soldering factory. Those eyes, bulging and lifeless, seem to pierce right into your very soul. What's even more unnerving is that these large tubular eyes point upward, constantly scanning the darkness above. This peculiar bit of eye biology allows deep-sea hatchets to hunt for sustenance that descends from the murky depths above. Despite their pitch-black surroundings, this deep-sea fish's eyes have evolved to be incredibly sensitive to the faintest glimmers of light, with the ability to spot even the subtlest of silhouettes amidst the abyssal gloom. Thankfully, knowing the hatchetfish is just 1 to 5 inches long makes me slightly less freaked out about its existence. But then again, that size-based kind of thinking has never eased my fear of house spiders. For most of us, aquariums are the easiest way to experience the wonders of the deep blue sea. But in 2022, French urban explorer Juju Urbex discovered that aquariums can also be a gateway to many oceanic horror stories. When visiting an abandoned aquarium in Spain, Juju made a gruesome discovery. Inside one of the tanks was the dried out remains of a small reef shark specimen, which had been chemically preserved and displayed. While it was unclear how long the specimen had been there, it was now rotting inside the broken case, gradually taking on a grotesque zombie-like appearance. Harrowing as this sight may be, it's not like actual zombie sharks are out there roaming our oceans, right? Well, let me get you acquainted with the elusive Greenland shark. Growing to an enormous 23 feet in length and over a ton in weight, this ghoulish creature sluggishly patrols the murky, frigid depths of the North Atlantic and Arctic Oceans. Thanks to a combination of their extremely slow metabolism, the natural preserving effects of the cold waters they inhabit, and other factors not currently fully understood, the Greenland shark never seems to die. At least not of old age, boasting an estimated lifespan of over 500 years. So basically, some of these things have been wandering our oceans since Henry VIII was speedrunning wives back in the 1500s. Now that's crazy. Not only does the Greenland shark certainly look the part of a centuries-old zombie, but it's also plagued with its own special kind of zombie virus. Many Greenland sharks are almost completely blind thanks to a type of eye parasite that latches onto the cornea and damages the creature's vision. Not only that, but these sharks' blemished, mottled flesh is extremely toxic for mammals to consume due to its high levels of the poisonous compound trimethylamine N-oxide, which helps increase the shark's buoyancy, water pressure resistance, and resistance to bacterial and viral infections. Nevertheless, after being thoroughly treated and fermented, the foul-smelling and potent-tasting Greenland shark's meat is frequently chow upon in Iceland as a beloved national dish, with some describing the taste as akin to bitter, strong blue cheese. Delish. What do you get if you combine one of the ugliest gremlins from folklore with the most feared oceanic predator? Meet the goblin shark, world-renowned as one of the most hideously terrifying sea creatures in existence. With its retractable jaw that slides out beyond its face to grab prey and its rows of sharp teeth, this deep-sea demon can grow up to 15 feet in length and swim to depths of over 4,000 feet. While there are no fatal goblin shark attacks on humans on record, there's no denying the raw fear factor behind this grotesque ghoul of the seas. But believe it or not, there's a lesser-known freaky-looking deep-water shark out there that rivals this ghastly goblin. Known to dive down to astonishing depths of 15,000 feet, the megamouth shark was only discovered by scientists in 1976. And if you're wondering where that name comes from, well, this is where. As a filter feeder, the megamouth takes plankton and other small organisms into its abyssal throat by gliding along with its mouth open and forcing water through its gills, where the tiny plankton get trapped, ready to be swallowed. The inside of its mouth is lined with a silvery white coating, which is believed to lure the curious light-emitting plankton of the deep to their doom by reflecting their own light back at them like moths to a flame. One captured megamouth measured in at a massive 23 feet in length, but since less than 300 megamouth sightings have been reported since the species' discovery, Who wants to know how big these underwater giants can really grow? Not me, that's for sure. The deep sea is filled with a whole host of characters best avoided, but surely a little paddle in ankle-deep water can't hurt, right? Right? Unfortunately, you don't have to travel very far into the ocean to encounter something dangerous and terrifying. Let me introduce you to the absolutely horrifying stargazer family. Made up of around 50 species, these nasty-looking fish can be found in both deep and shallow salt waters worldwide. Just one look at these guys tells you Mother Nature didn't create these things to win any beauty pageants. Stargazers bury their bodies into the seafloor and then wait for something tasty-looking to pass by. Once secured in their hiding spots, some species wiggle this creepy worm-like appendage overhead in order to lure in sea-dwelling victims. Then in the blink of an eye, they lunge their open mouth forward, creating a powerful vacuum that sucks unsuspecting prey in whole. Since stargazers grow to no more than 18 inches long on average, humans are way too big for them to eat. But that doesn't mean we have nothing to fear. Not only do they possess 2 large spines on their backs that can inject extremely painful venom into wandering bare feet, they can also zap you with a mild electric shock like an electric eel. Yikes. I guess that means the ocean is the only place where my trusty Crocs might be considered an acceptable fashion choice. Palm trees, golden sands, and temperate waters make the coast of Santa Barbara, California one of the world's most beloved surfing spots. But before you go wading into the North Pacific to catch some gnarly waves, dude, you might want to stop and think just what's lurking in there. These dark silhouettes of enormous tentacles can sometimes be seen reaching up from the seabed like some unholy Lovecraftian abomination awakening from its 1,000-year slumber. But no need to pledge your allegiance to Cthulhu just yet, because the truth is, Santa Barbara's coastal shallows are home to large patches of kelp forest, eerie oceanic biomes filled with enormous seaweeds that can grow to over 100 feet tall. These towering plants provide food and shelter for thousands of marine species, but boy am I glad I'm not one of them. Kelp forests are especially creepy to swim through, especially during low visibility conditions. Is your spine tingling as much as mine is right now? I can only imagine going for a sneaky midnight skinny dip in the ocean and feeling one of those bristly tendrils wrap itself around my ankle. Not even therapy could fix me after that. Many people, understandably, fear the idea of being eaten alive by a monstrous sea creature. If you're one of them, brace yourself, because I'm about to hit you with a healthy dose of exposure therapy. In June 2023, Australian diver Dean Kropp was exploring a reef in the Coral Sea off the northeastern coast of Australia when suddenly a hungry saddle-tail grouper attempted to completely devour his camera. Saddle-tail groupers can grow to an intimidating 6.5 feet long, and as carnivorous predators, who's to say one of these Goliaths wouldn't inadvertently attempt to make a meal of the diver behind the camera instead? But if that didn't quite trigger your fight or flight, maybe this next multi-limbed encounter will. Well, that sucked. In 2022, Canadian diver Andrea Humphreys was touring the seafloor in the waters off Campbell River, British Columbia, when a giant Pacific octopus closed in and wrapped its tentacles firmly around her camera. While this curious specimen wasn't showing any obvious signs of aggression and kept its beak hidden away, there are a few reasons to be wary of these alien-like cephalopods. Capable of growing gargantuan arm spans of around 30 feet, giant Pacific octopi possess hard keratin beaks that can deliver powerful bites and spit a painful venom into the wound. Plus, their suction cups can be extremely difficult to remove if they latch onto you or even your diving gear, increasing your risk of drowning. Even though it's really rare for an octopus to be involved in unprovoked attacks on humans, seeing what Humphrey's camera went through is more than enough to convince me not to lean in for an octo cuddle anytime soon. While the mere idea of coming toe-to-toe with a shark is enough to keep me out of the water forever, what about being stalked by a giant sea monster you can't even identify? In January 2022, Reddit user Fancy Zoidberg posted this foreboding photo of himself during the Gulf of California off La Paz, Mexico. He didn't realize at the time, but you can see there's an ominous shape lurking just a few feet behind him. Although the rippling waves blur out most of the mystery creature's features, its hulking size is certain, and Reddit commenters quickly started speculating about the identity of the mystery monster. Some suspected a harmless dolphin or manatee, while others were convinced it was a deadly great white shark or killer whale. But it turns out Fancy Zoidberg had managed to capture a second close-up photo of the animal, which revealed it to be a whale shark, the largest fish in the ocean. While the size of that mouth is enough to send shivers down the spines of even the most experienced divers, thankfully this mammoth of the ocean is unlikely to get the munchies for human swimmers, as they're filter feeders surviving off large quantities of tiny plankton. Additionally, despite their big mouths, the whale shark's throat is actually too narrow to swallow a human. So worst case scenario, you'd end up stuck in old Monstro's mouth. What a comforting thought. Whale sharks can grow to a colossal 60 feet in length, at which point they look a little more like this. Holy guacamole. I think I'll continue admiring whale sharks from a very sizable distance, thank you very much. If there's one scene from Finding Nemo that has plagued me into adulthood, it's Marlin and Dory navigating the treacherous, stinging forest of hundreds of jellyfish. But in reality, there are some jellyfish out there that are scary enough all on their own. Check this out. Known as the black sea nettle, this striking jellyfish is usually spotted in the Pacific Ocean off the western coast of Mexico. Donned with intricate lacy tentacles, black nettles can grow to a hefty 25 feet in length and are capable of delivering painful stings to anything that gets too close. What really makes my skin crawl about this thing is watching so many of its moving parts all twitch and ripple independently of each other, ready to strike. More terrifying jellies now, and trust me, this one will really haunt your dreams. This ghostly specter of the sea is known as the giant phantom jellyfish, which gets its name from its very elusive nature. Despite being discovered back in 1899, scientists still know very little about this otherworldly sea creature, with fewer than 130 sightings ever reported. When it had been seen, the giant phantom often lingers almost motionless in the open water, giving it an oddly graceful yet haunting appearance. Its four curtain-like arms are used to ensnare prey before hauling the food up to its mouth, positioned on the underside of its reddish-black bell. Growing up to a tremendous 33 feet in length, it's not hard to imagine yourself getting tangled up in those deathly drapes. What a way to go. But even a humongous jelly like the phantom is still dwarfed by the world's largest jellyfish species, known as the lion's mane. Frequenting cold waters off the coasts of northern Europe, these Goliaths are capable of growing to more than 100 feet long. That's about as long as the largest blue whale ever recorded, and about 200 times as long as a jellyfish has any right to be, if you ask me. In December 2023, Australian diver Jules Casey was enjoying a swim through the warm turquoise waters off Mornington Peninsula, Australia, when she stumbled upon a baffling, unnerving sight. spooky, twisting mass of strange black matter was suspended in water, creating eerie shapes in an otherwise empty patch of the ocean. But what on earth or ocean is this eerie substance, and where did it come from? Well, as much as it may look like some kind of aquatic dementor or symbiote, this black shapeshifter was actually a mass of congealed squid ink, spun into a long string-like formation by ocean currents. Cephalopods typically eject ink made of melanin and mucus to distract predators while they make their quick escape. While squid ink itself is harmless to humans and even a staple ingredient in many cuisines worldwide, the presence of this inky mass makes me wonder what scared the octopus off. Let's swim away before we find out, shall we? Whale watching is a popular coastal vacation activity, but what if I told you that whales are known to dabble in a little human watching themselves? In 2019, a group of surfers floating in the waters off Doheny State Beach in Dana Point, California were unexpectedly approached by a very big and very curious visitor. This equal parts majestic and unnerving footage was captured by a local who'd been following the whale with his drone as it swam northwest along the shoreline. Approaching within just a few feet of the surfers, the enormous creature surfaced for air and spouted a burst of mist from its blowhole, causing a mixture of fear and fascination. While its species remains unconfirmed, its characteristics are consistent with gray whales, which are commonly seen migrating along the Californian coast. Named for their distinctive mottled gray color, gray whales are known for being especially inquisitive and social animals. They frequently swim right up to boats to check out the humans on board and even allow themselves to be petted, which wouldn't be so bad if they didn't grow up to an imposing 50 feet in length. Thankfully, these marine mammals would much rather feed on small shrimp and sea worms than people. But it's still a little disturbing to imagine being surprised with this. Please excuse me while I go change my wetsuit. We've uncovered plenty of underwater horrors that certainly terrify us humans to the core, but some of the scariest things in Earth's waters were put there by humans in the first place. Now what exactly is that doing there? This frightfully bleak underwater landscape lies at the bottom of the 200-foot deep Kreidessie Lake in Himmoor, Germany. Once a vast open-cast chalk mine that was filled in with water after mining operations stopped there in the 70s. Now the ominous silhouettes of skeletal trees and various sunken vehicles haunt the airy pool, seemingly frozen in time. Some of these structures are the authentic remnants of the mine left in place when it was intentionally flooded, while other more modern vehicles and structures were deliberately added over decades to create unique diving environments. The spooky, post-apocalyptic looking dive site may be situated inside a landlocked lake, but thanks to the great volume and dusky atmosphere of the water, it's practically indistinguishable from being positioned in the open ocean itself. Especially when you see one particularly startling sculpture that was installed down there. This huge great white shark replica rearing its head to gobble up some invisible prey. When viewed from the right angle and distance, it appears frighteningly similar to the real version that dominates the seas. But somehow, it still isn't the most blood-curdling shark statue in existence. I personally think that title goes to the one at the bottom of Wohink Lake, Oregon. This 18-foot plastic sculpture doesn't look quite as realistic as the last one, with its unnaturally massive teeth and roughened flesh, but being surrounded by the lake's incredibly murky green hue, it certainly plays on our primal fears of the unknown and the true dangers of the deep ocean. And with that, this landlubber's going straight back to shore. Which of these scary things in the sea make you glad to have feet instead of fins? Have you ever seen anything truly spine-chilling in the sea for yourself? Let me know down in the comments below. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.